you'd probably wear Google Glass, 2 pairs at the same time. So my point is, it's great, but how about the mass market? The billions of people in it who care about fashion, image. That's how we make this into a huge business, not by marketing to us. I mean, I'd wear anything anyway. I wear a GPS watch with solar. I don't wear a Rolex, but I'm weird.
So yeah, that was my next question. So do you think that wearable devices are designed by Silicon Valley engineers for Silicon Valley engineers, and they don't care about the mainstream users and the female audience? I was talking about the Pebble watch. I asked for a female version, and they say it's coming, but I don't know when.
Well, I think Pebble did a great job, and now they need to iterate and hire industrial designers, fashion designers who can build something great out of it. I think they're fantastic. I mean, everybody thought they couldn't succeed, and they succeeded. They did great work. But the question is, can you become, a Rolex or a Cartier or whatever it is? And that's really what the opportunity is. Look at Nike as a brand. They sell fundamentally the same shoe as no brand shoes, but they sell them for $100, and the other ones have a hard time selling it for $9.95 or $19.95. It's fundamentally the same shoe. I mean, don't tell Nike that I said that, but it's pretty similar. It's a power brand, right? And the power of fashion and design, and it changes all the time.
So, do you think there's in the future there will be one company providing the software for all the watch manufacturing, for example? And so, for example, Android Wear could be in a Cartier watch or a Rolex watch. Like it would be the same business model as the Windows for PC.
Oh yeah, I agree. The NSA should provide all wearable technology. Sorry, I become allergic when I hear that one company is going to
That's why I asked the question. I knew it.
Wearable is even more personal. I mean, so personal computers were more personal than mainframes. The cloud, that's what's called. I mean, the personal computers are more personal, so they become more personal. So people care. And now smartphones, we all care. When we heard what NSA was doing with our smartphones, everybody got worried, But then, do we want a single company to now control our wearable experience and know everything about our heartbeats? I mean, come on. I mean, so I think that...
No, we don't, but what could happen?
Well, anything could happen, but I do think that...
The PCs, there's two companies, Apple and Windows, that's it, and Nike.
That's true, but I think there's been it's true. And I'm not saying that these companies are bad or anything. I'm not saying that. I think everybody means well, and individually all the companies are good, and everybody who works in a company is great. But I'm just saying that it's going to be important that there is diversity, that there is competition, so that we don't get into a monostructural world, which is really boring, because then what happens when that single company, we had the experience of Microsoft. I mean, how has Microsoft Office evolved since there is no competition for Microsoft Office? Has it? Is it different? Yeah, it's slower, bigger, it's got more bugs, and it charges just as much, right? And so monopolies are never good for anyone, not even for the companies that establish those monopolies. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's not even good for Microsoft. I think that the reason Microsoft is challenged the way it is right now is it really didn't have to compete in some core businesses that paid their bills, and they were able to look at smartphones and everything else like a hobby. But you don't become really successful, you guys know that as entrepreneurs, in our business by looking at a business as a hobby. It's a complete commitment. What you do is a commitment. You're always writing. You're always thinking about these things. What I do is a commitment too, right?
Well, look at the smartphone business. There's two dominant companies, like Android and Google, and Apple and iOS. So that's why I'm asking the question, how we will be able to have more competition in the wearables?
Well, at least in the smartphone business, there's two. In the PC business, Apple revived just, okay? But anyway, the PC business became a true monopoly, right? But at least there's two you could argue that Samsung and Apple, because Google doesn't sell phones.
No.
And so it's
The
really...
software is king. They will sell the software also to Cartier with Android Wear, why not?
Yes, that's true, and so Samsung's pushed Tizen, which is not Google, which is what so Tizen's open to everyone. And so there is definitely competition about everywhere, and I think it's really an important piece. I mean, diversity and competition is important, I mean, if you don't want diversity, I guess you'd watch every night Bill O'Reilly on Fox News. The point is that that's what you do. So my point is diversity in our business is really important, and so I do believe that in the wearable world there will be diversity. There is already diversity because guys like Jawbone are there, Fitbit is there, Nike is there. I mean, there's some very successful players who are shipping millions of units who are not prisoners of on the single platform. The platform is not that important in wearable. I think one of the things that people are sometimes confused about is thinking that wearable is all the same thing. Wearable in a smartwatch, maybe you may want to run apps and do stuff like that, and then a platform is important. But most wearable devices are going to be miniature. They have to become invisible. And as such, you don't have third-party apps. That wearable device is self-contained, solves a problem, and integrates with an ecosystem that starts at the smartphone at the cloud, but you don't have to run a word processor on every wearable device. But you did have to run an email package on every smartphone. You had to do that, right? I don't have to run email on my Jawbone app or whatever it is.
Okay, any question?
We've answered everything. We solved the problems of the universe.
So the thing is, Philippe, like you are so low key, and you don't ever talk about some of the things that you've done. Like,
tried to ask him.
Yeah,
but he didn't answer the question.
So when it comes to mobile and wearables and a lot of different things, Philippe is probably one of the most influential people in the planet, I'd say. And it is such a good thing that you actually came here. I know this embarrasses you a little bit. I won't go in, but everything that this guy says is pure gold. So if you have a question about your company or what you're doing or any of these things, right now is the time to ask. And for me, like, the first thing that I was going to ask Philippe is, like, with the whole, like, we know that watches are going to come out here right now. What's your thought on, like, the smart glasses movement? Like, what do you think are the things that are going to be important for smart glass companies to capture in order for it to be a mass market adoptable product?
So, say the Google Glass, I think it's a fantastic vertical market product. Like if you work in a nuclear power plant and you need to have information right there, it's great. The problem I have with the way glass works right now, and we've worked on that. If you look at the patents in our company, we have eyewear patents dating back to 2008, before Google Glass project existed, because we were working with Oakley actually on creating a new generation of eyewear that had heads-up display, could pick up heart rate and all that. So we've done that work. We have a lot of the IP in that space. What we found out at the time is that it was very difficult for something that sits on your face to succeed for two reasons. One is the choice of your frame is a personal one. It's really fashion conscious. If you're going to put something on your face, it better, I bet that no two people who wear glasses in this room have the same frame. Well, maybe, okay. But it's very rare. It's like two people in the same. If you take two, especially men, we found, and they wear the same watch at the same table, they get upset at each other. If it's a fashion watch, oh, you have the same Rolex model as I do. Oh my God, you know, they look. So people want that diversity. Diversity is something important. It's important in the gene pool. It's part of, you know, good genetics. I mean, diversity is an important piece of everything. So the problem with glasses, the first one, is that it's a fashion accessory because it's on your face, and people look at their face in the mirror more often than they look at any other part of their body in general. And so when you're going to put something on your face, you're really going to care about how it looks. It's going to be a real important piece of it. So the second piece is that if you are talking to someone who's wearing Google Glass, the immediate reaction is, whoa, are they filming me? Are they taking a picture? You almost want a little red light that blinks to say that they're, you know, like a TV camera. It's intrusive. Part of the magic of wearable has to be that it is non-intrusive. That basically it disappears. It's invisible. That's what we mean when it's invisible. It's like if I talk to you and I have something and you think that I'm, you know, looking through your clothes, or I can see what your mind reads, or I'm doing face recognition and I can find out where DUI arrests in Colorado or something like that, then you're just going to be, your mind's going to go in a different direction than if we have a normal conversation where, you know, it's me and you. So it's the same kind of challenge that you have in all that, which is now the device affects the interaction, and I find that all the time. I have a pair of you know. We have some, and we've seen that, and I think a lot of people. So two big challenges: it's a fashion accessory, and it's intrusive. So now, does it matter in some vertical markets? Well, if you're running and you want a heads-up display, and you want to, that's a perfect for athletics. It doesn't really matter in general, and you'll see. You know, for example, that's one. If you're working at a factory or something like that, you need information over you, and it's a fantastic way. If you're working on a car and you need the manual while you're under the, you know, and you don't have to go and pick up the manual, and you can look, and you can take a picture of the thing, and it can do some recognition and find what you know. There's fantastic things you can do. In day-to-day, all day long, I think it's going to be a niche product for a while, until we figure out a way to do it differently. And I think the wrist is probably going to be the most successful, we call them station, on the body for now. It's not going to be all the time, but for a long time it's going to be the most important thing. Clothing will come, but clothing is again invasive in the way that people like to pick their own garment. And to pick your own garment is not easy when you basically take clothing and you say, I want to buy on the rack a wearable clothing that interfaces with my back end, and you know, whatever it does. It's challenging because you don't have enough diversity. Again, you take this room, no two people have the same shirt, do you? I mean, look, I mean, I'm just looking. I mean, it's amazing. Diversity is incredible. You sit at a cafe on the Champs-Élysées in Paris and just watch people for a whole afternoon. You do not see two people really with the same outfit. I mean, it's and you could see thousands of people go by. It's really an important piece. Fashion is, if we want, you know, wearable to be so important, fashion is very important. And so that is the challenge, one of the challenges, I think, with stuff like glass and even these. Because does everyone want to wear a smartwatch like a Samsung, and we all wear the same watch, and we get a text, we all look at the same thing? People are not going to do that. People do not want to look like that because, you know, that's, you know, people are different. We're all different. Sorry.
So you mentioned some differentiation with locations on the body. How do you feel about like some of the contact products that Google's developing? The contact lenses that they're developing? Is that something more viable than the glasses, you think?
I think contact lenses that can tell you your blood glucose if you're diabetic are great. It's solving a problem for millions of people who may have type 2 diabetes and people who want to wear contact lenses. I think all sorts of. I think Google's doing a great job for that because that's really a very useful thing. This is something you can't do with an existing product. If you're going to give me my average blood glucose during the day with contact lenses. It's going to have a lot of applications for people who are diabetic, and they also have good applications for people who want to lose body fat, because if your blood glucose is too high, there's no way you can lose body fat. So I mean, there's a bunch of equations like that people can't solve, because right now it involves pricking your finger and getting some blood.
As wearables become less and less visible, whether it be listening devices on your wrist or contact lenses like we've just talked about, how do you feel like privacy concerns are going to impact how the general public adopts them?
Well, I think that privacy is is the elephant in the room with this, and the NSA scandals really hit that in a big way. And this is how I think about it. I'll give you a short anecdote. I was in the office of the CEO of Sprint when a few years back we wanted to do something that had to do with helping the people at Sprint who had type 2 diabetes. Sprint had over 25,000 employees, so statistically they had at least 2,500 people with type 2 diabetes, but probably many more than that. At least diagnosed 2,500. So he was all excited because he said, I can help these people, it's going to make my workforce more productive. And so he sent an email, say, please, $100 a month bonus for anyone who type 2 diabetic who wants to participate into the study. 0 responded. No one in his company had type 2 diabetes. And the reason is that everybody said no one gets a promotion when because they have type 2 diabetes. If a manager is there and someone, oh, this guy's got type, they're probably not going to give him a promotion, because statistically, on the average, they are less present at work than they would otherwise. So so people were really, really concerned about that. And so he got nobody. He says, wow, I have a healthy company. He says, no, you have a scared company. And that's really, that's really, so my point